How would you define your job as a university teacher?
I think it's my responsibility, being in training and preparing people to be teachers, is to help students be problem solvers and thinkers. I think it's important to reflect and think, and it's going to sound a little corny, but think deeply about what it is they are doing, and remembering that the reason they're there is, yes, you want to impart knowledge, but you're there to train, teach, and be with children and young adults, and that's your focus. It doesn't matter whether you're the teacher, the administrator, or whatever. That's what you need to remember that you're all about, and that's important, and that's still my message. And that's your first responsibility, which, sometimes you think you have to please the principal, or you have to please. No. That's not what we're about. You shouldn't be about that. Mm-hmm. Parents are your allies. I think that's important. And once you understand parents, they have one thing in mind, their child. And if you get what they're after, you'll do well at teaching, because that's what you're after, helping their child become number one for them. They take away the notion that their responsibility is to teach the children and to understand the students as best they can, and that's what they need to be doing. And every once in a while I get letters. I got a letter, I think I shared that at the Lackner dinner, where I had just received, like 2 or 3 days before the dinner, a letter from a student that I had, it was probably 25, 30 years ago. And she was getting ready, she had a handicapped child herself, but she was getting ready to go back to work. And she started talking about what she remembered. And she said, I have volunteered, and I've remembered that. But now as I go back to being a teacher, I remember those things you said about students and about the importance of students and what students are about and our relationship to our students. And I thought, okay, one kid got it. Well, Shauna got it. So, that's what I remember about students. And when they see you and they'll say, I remember when you, and it's something they remember about what you do with kids and how you treat children. Because that's what I think we're about.
Working with college students, things that might have surprised you, or?
Well, not so much, because I taught high school kids. So the transition was not that great, and I did a lot of the introductory courses at UD, the 109, 110 education courses, which are designed for first-year students. And so that wasn't so much of a transition. What I liked was the ability to think and problem solve, share knowledge, and then watch how we could problem solve issues and do those things. And that's been fairly consistent. Over the years, I think I've seen some changes in the students, is that I don't know that there's bigger risk takers. They like to have kind of answers out first, and maybe that's just the nature of the cycle of where we are in learning. I don't know, but I do notice that as something that was a little different. But being in special education, once again, it was new. People wanted to learn. There was a lot of new information, so it was always exciting. It was always a live kind of thing. And because I taught methods, and while I only taught maybe once in a while the background course, where exceptionalities came from, the history of that sort of thing, I was always kind of in that dynamic moving forward piece, and that was always fun.
Do you find the students that you work with today very different from the ones you've worked with in the past?
Very different.
You mentioned about not being a big risk takers now.
Right.
Are there other differences in the kinds of in how you see the nature of the students?
Well, yeah, I think they're technological savvy and wonderful in that regard, and willing to take hold of technology. There was, for a while, when we were beginning to transition, into the computers and all that sort of thing, people were reticent to embrace that. well, it's just a given now. I mean, and all kinds of things occur that did not occur in now because of the technology that we have and the way in which we can teach that.
How has that changed your teaching?
Well, it provides you opportunities to see things in a more real setting at an earlier stage, I think, in their learning, as opposed to you giving them the background information and then they get their field work and then they move into the experiences. You can set the stage a little better for what, in fact, is reality, but reality is reality. And the student teachers will say to this very day, I learned everything I knew about teaching when I student taught, which is what they do. And they do because they learn who they are and how to teach. Then as they develop, they see what being at UD did for them in a holistic way and their teaching. But they don't know that. They always say, oh, I learned everything. Oh, I learned more this semester than I've learned the whole time I've been at UD. I was subbing. Remember I told you I began that year and I subbed. And to sub for this teacher that I did was to sub for a legend because she was what she was. And okay, but I was sort of at a loss on what to do, but I thought I had pretty good standards, and I thought I understood what was going on. And I had this class of very bright students, and they were very knowledgeable and very active. And I had this one student in particular that I thought was blowing it off. And I got this paper, and I was so ticked at her. I was just really ticked. So I wrote on her paper, now remember I'm an adjunct, I wrote on her paper that the kind of attitude you've been displaying in class is not the kind that we need in special education. We have enough issues. I think you need to think about being in another profession. Well, let me tell you, like I said, these were smart folks, and she came roaring into my room, and I thought, okay, and I knew I was going to be history because she came roaring in there and she asked me who I thought I was. And I said, well, I'm your instructor, and the stuff I've been seeing from you isn't good. I said, you are not operating at the level you need to operate, and you have treated this as unimportant. And, well, who did I get off coming doing that? And I said, well, the university thought I had some skills and some knowledge, and I think I do, and this is what I think. And the interesting part of that is that student is Dr. Shauna Adams, who is now at the university. She tells the story regularly on herself, and she happened to have gotten a B, which was her only B, as she said. But the rest remains history because I was right, I called the number right, and she became one of the best students we ever graduated. And she's spectacular in that regard. So,
what advice would you give to new faculty members here at UD about succeeding as a teacher here?
Well, it's I guess what I've usually said, and it's mostly to women, that when in thinking about the university and how the university is structured and how it's run, you need to find a cohort group. The university may not offer that, depending on your area, and in particular in special ed, but in your area, even early childhood. I mean, when you're in education, you're kind of a different teaching teachers kind of thing, because we're all in the business of education. You need to find a cohort group somewhere. It can be strong folks here on campus, it can be any variety of places. It can be off campus, and you use the university as the thinking, the intellectual problem-solving challenge, but you go and you deal with reality and bring that to your classroom. So, but you have to do that. Otherwise, if you're looking for people to just embrace you, that's not what you want to do. You want to find your way, and finding a good cohort group or person is important to you. And that's always been my advice. The university is what the university is. And as it gets bigger, it gets more university-like, more bureaucratic. And so you have to, you have to learn how to make your way. It's a lot bigger place than when I came, so.
Do you think being a woman affected your career here at UD or influenced how people have worked with you? What has that been? What was that experience?
Yes, definitely it had an impact. It's a male-run institution, essentially, but there have been very many good mentors. I mean, Brother Stander was, Ellis Joseph, John Geiger. I mean, all of those people did wonderful things to support women and what was going on here at the university. But, I guess I really can't answer that, because I always like to size up the situation and probably serve or do or teach or be a part of whatever I thought was important and available. And if it wasn't here, I did it someplace else. So I can't really say. I'm sure it did. There were several times that there were issues that were unpleasant. But, you get along.
Any of those times you'd like to talk about?
Well, I don't know. General information, the first woman dean was in the School of Education, and that did not work out well. And it just did not work out well. And she decided she didn't like my style. She didn't want me in that. She wanted all the guys around. So, and I stepped down. I wasn't going to have the battle with her on a regular basis. And I said, I'm done. I'm going to be done. And I was done mid-year. So I think I did 3.5 years. I think that was the right time frame. But I said, no, I'm done. I'm not going to do this. So that was not pleasant. But you learn how to live through those kinds of situations. I'm still here. She's not. That's all I can say. I mean, and you find support. Like I said, the important thing is to have a strong group that you can relate to. And like I said, I was with the Board of Mental Retardation, had many people that I could relate to, had strong support here from mentor people that kept me focused and helped me do things I needed to do. I said Bill Beitzel, he came here from DPS, and he and I worked together. We created